I told the campus queen I loved her today, then woke up 8 years later with a 7-year-old kid. I couldn't help but feel smug. Looks like the confession worked. But then I saw the torn-up wedding photos tossed in the drawer. Piecing them back together, I realized my wife wasn't the campus queen, but the other one. My memory was still anchored to the sycamore-lined boulevard near the campus district. The air smelled like summer, carrying the echo of all the courage I'd mustered to shout to Chloe Davis, "I love you." And then I woke up. The ceiling above wasn't the yellowed plaster of my dorm room, plastered with a faded LeBron James poster, but a minimalist, unfamiliar modern chandelier. The air held a faint, subtle scent, like jasmine. I shot up in bed, surveying the surroundings. This was a spacious bedroom, decorated in the kind of Scandinavian chic I only saw in design magazines. Gray walls, lightwood furniture. It was too neat, too sterile to feel lived in. Who am I? Where am I? Was I kidnapped? I threw off the duvet and looked down at myself. Good, my clothes were still on, a pair of silk pajamas I'd never owned. Just as my brain crashed, the bedroom door creaked open a crack, and a small head peeked through. It was a little girl with 2 tiny pigtails, probably 6 or 7 years old. Her eyes were big and round, like 2 black grapes. Seeing that I was awake, her eyes lit up. She scampered over on her short legs, her voice sweet and bubbly. "Daddy, you're finally awake. If you don't get up now, Coco is going to be late for school." "Daddy." My tongue felt tied. The little girl skillfully climbed onto the bed, checked my forehead with her small hand, then touched her own forehead, concluding seriously, "No fever." "What's wrong, Daddy? Did you sleep yourself silly?" I stared at her face, which bore a strong resemblance to my childhood pictures. An absurd, ecstatic thought surged into my mind. Could it be that my confession to Chloe had succeeded, and that the efficiency was so high, it was one and done, fast-forwarding directly to having a daughter? I pointed a trembling finger at myself. "You call me Daddy." "Yes." She nodded, then pointed toward the doorway. "Mommy already made breakfast. If you don't get up, Mommy will eat your share." Mommy, Chloe, my goddess. She was right outside, making breakfast. I felt like I'd been hit by the lottery. I was floating on cloud 9. 8 years of grinding vanished, and I'd arrived instantly at the pinnacle of life. I scooped up my instant daughter and planted a massive kiss on her cheek. "My good girl." The little girl was startled by my enthusiasm and wriggled free from my embrace. "Daddy, you're acting weird." I didn't care. I leaped out of bed barefoot and rushed to the window, yanking the curtains open. Below, a pristine lawn and a quiet street formed a peaceful, affluent tableau. On the room's writing desk, I spotted a cell phone and an open calendar. I picked up the phone. The screen flashed, and the date prominently displayed. September 12th, 2032. 2032. I remembered clearly. The day I confessed was June 7th, 2024, the day of final exams. A full 8 years. My life had been put on fast forward, skipping the most difficult phase of hustling. I contained my euphoria and started searching the room for evidence of the love nest between Chloe and me. I needed to confirm just how sweet my life with my goddess had been for the past 8 years. I pulled open the nightstand drawer, hoping to find photos of us. The drawer was nearly empty, holding only a single brown paper envelope. I took it out. It felt like it contained fragments of thick cardstock. I dumped the contents onto the bed. It was a pile of finely shredded photographs. My heart sank. What was this? A fight? Had she shredded our wedding photos? With a rising sense of unease, I began playing a morbid jigsaw puzzle on the bed. The pieces were scattered. It took me several minutes to manage to piece together part of a woman's face in profile. A sharp jawline, lips pressed tight, showing no clear expression. But this wasn't Chloe Davis. Chloe had a sweet, lovable oval face. This face had a cooler, sharper outline. The ominous feeling grew heavier in my chest. I sped up, assembling the groom's portion. The face, dressed in a suit and grinning like an idiot, was undoubtedly my own, Ryan Harris. Finally, I filled in the remaining fragments. The bride's entire face was complete, staring back at me. The moment I recognized that face, I felt like a lightning bolt had struck me from head to toe. The woman in the pristine white wedding dress, with meticulous makeup, possessed eyes, slightly upturned at the corners, that held a mix of 3 parts detachment and 7 parts scrutiny, even when smiling. I'd recognize her in ashes. Eleanor Vance, my arch-nemesis for 4 years of college. The woman who debated me into silence, who always beat me to answering the professor's hardest questions, and who gave me that "Are you mentally challenged?" look every time I failed to show off. My wife was her. I stared at the reassembled, yet shredded, wedding photo, feeling my entire world collapse. Ryan, what are you stalling for? Are you waiting for the whole family to wait on you? A cool female voice came from outside the door, like an ice pick, instantly shattering all my fantasies. My hand shook, and the pieced-together photo scattered into fragments again. Guiltily, I swept the fragments back into the paper envelope and shoved it into the deepest corner of the drawer. The door opened, and Ellie Vance walked in. 8 years later, she had shed her youthful college awkwardness. Her hair was a sleek bob, and she wore a perfectly tailored business skirt suit. She radiated a powerful, don't mess with me aura. She saw I was still in my pajamas, and her brow instantly furrowed. That look was identical to the one she gave me 8 years ago when she caught me walking into class late. "You have 10 minutes, she said. Without giving me another glance, she turned and left. I watched her retreating back, my mind a mess. What the hell happened over those 8 years? I didn't end up with Chloe, but married my mortal enemy instead, and had a kid? Judging by her attitude, our marriage was clearly on life support. The shredded wedding photo was ironclad proof. Dejectedly, I walked into the bathroom, looking at the strange face in the mirror. Unshaved stubble, tiny fine lines around the eyes. While still handsome, there was a new layer of weariness and gravitas in my gaze. I sighed, washed up at lightning speed, and put on an unfamiliar suit. It fit surprisingly well. In the dining room, Coco was already sitting obediently in her high chair, sipping milk. Ellie sat opposite her, focused on financial news on her tablet. The table was set with sandwiches and milk. In one of the sandwiches, mine, was that hated green vegetable I loathed, celery. I was about to pick it out when I heard Ellie, without looking up, speak. "The doctor said your cholesterol is a little high recently. Eat your vegetables." My extended hand froze midair. I silently pulled it back. Coco blinked her big eyes at me, speaking with a tone of sympathy. "Daddy, just eat it. Mommy said you can't go to work until you finish." Resigned, I picked up the poison sandwich. As I chewed the weird flavor, I tried to subtly glean information from my new daughter. "Coco, let Daddy ask you something. Are Daddy and Mommy usually happy together?" I asked cautiously. Coco tilted her head, thought hard, and then answered seriously. "When it's good, it's really good. Mommy gives Daddy extra meat. When it's not good, it's like this." My heart sank. My guess was correct. Marriage crisis. I probed again. Then, "Why are we unhappy? Is it because Daddy did something wrong?" Before Coco could answer, Ellie put down her tablet, her gaze chillingly sweeping over me. "Ryan Harris, you are acting very strange today." My heart seized up. Did she realize I had amnesia? Interrogating us first thing in the morning? What play are you staging? Sudden amnesia? Or are you trying to subtly lay the groundwork for a divorce before your white moonlight returns to the country? White moonlight? Chloe? She's back. The amount of information was overloading my CPU. I quickly waved my hands. No, I just thought we should communicate more and deepen our marital bond." Ellie sneered, her smile full of mockery. "Deepen our bond? Fine." She stood up, walked behind me, leaned down, and spoke in my ear in a low volume, but one loud enough for me to hear clearly. "You first explain why the encrypted folder in your study is password protected with Chloe Davis's birthday." Me? I was done for. Game over. This marriage looked like it was beyond saving. I practically fled the house, following Ellie out. A black SUV was parked downstairs. Ellie smoothly opened the door, secured Coco in her car seat, and slipped into the driver's seat. I froze. Who was driving? "Get in. What are you staring at?" Ellie leaned out the window, impatiently urging me. I pulled open the passenger door and got in, my stomach churning. Based on what she just said, Chloe is back, and I've been pining for her, even using her birthday as a password. That's a cardinal sin in any marriage. How did I become such a scumbag? "Look, Ellie, I decided to fight for my life. About that password, I can explain." "Oh." She kept her eyes on the road, driving attentively, her tone completely flat. "Actually, it's not Chloe's birthday." I started spouting serious nonsense. "It's the launch date of a college project." Yes, a project that was very significant to me. I used it to commemorate it, so. "Is that so?" Ellie chuckled softly. "Which project? Tell me about it." I stalled. "It was about environmental sustainability." "Mr. Harris," she interrupted, "have you forgotten what you do now? You're in artificial intelligence. The last project you did involving sustainability was in college. That innovation challenge entry that the judges tore apart. Do you remember who helped you reconstruct the flawed data model, just so you could scrape by?" I remembered, all right. It was her, Ellie Vance. I'd pulled several all-nighters on that project, only for the judges to call it worthless. I was brooding alone in the classroom when she walked over, silently picked up my notes, scribbled on them, and finally tossed me a flash drive containing a completely new data model. I watched her profile as she drove, the outline softened slightly by the morning light. Turns out, buried in those memories I thought were purely antagonistic, were details I'd completely missed. The atmosphere in the car fell into an awkward silence. Soon, the car stopped in front of a grand corporate tower. "We're here," Ellie said. "I'll take Coco to preschool. I'll pick you up tonight." "Oh, okay." I answered robotically, preparing to get out. And she stopped me. "You have a critical presentation this morning at 10 o'clock regarding the Ether initiative. The proposal is in your bag. Review it. Don't repeat last time and draw a blank when someone asks you for a basic data point." My heart sank. I stiffly nodded. Walking into the lavish corporate lobby, the receptionist smiled sweetly and greeted me. "Good morning, Mr. Harris." "Me, Mr. Harris?" Everyone I passed on my way to the elevator respectfully called me Mr. Harris. I could only adopt a deep, inscrutable expression and nod slightly in return. My office was on the top floor, with a fantastic view overlooking most of the city. A sharp-looking young man in black-rimmed glasses rushed over the moment he saw me. "Huss, you finally made it." I optimized the Ether presentation deck again last night, added some dynamic effects. "Take a look." I recognized his familiar face. Wasn't this Mike Olson, my best buddy, who slept in the bunk across from me in college? "Mike." Mike paused, then laughed. "Ryan, you're joking again. We're at work, just call me Mike." He handed me a tablet. I took it, staring at the dense charts and professional jargon I didn't recognize. AI natural language interaction model, deep learning algorithm optimization, compute cluster architecture. I knew every word, but strung together, I couldn't decipher a thing. I felt cold sweat break out on my forehead. In 10 o'clock this morning, I was expected to present this material to the chairman. I excused myself to the restroom, hid in a stall, and nervously called Mike. "Hey, Mike. Haas, what's up? Are there any issues with the presentation deck?" No issues." I lowered my voice. "I just wanted to confirm with you again. Is the computational data on the third slide maybe a little too conservative?" I was baiting him, hoping he'd explain in detail so I could cram. Mike was silent for a few seconds on the other end. Then his tone suddenly became incredibly reverent. "Ryan, you've got eyes like a hawk." I was hesitating whether to raise that data point, afraid of overpromising. "But since you think it's conservative, I get it. I'll adjust it right now. Don't worry. I'll make sure that data looks even more spectacular. I won't let you down." Click. He hung up. Me? That wasn't what I meant. I sank onto the restroom floor, hugging my head in despair. How was I supposed to navigate this catastrophic start? 10 minutes until the meeting. I sat in the conference room, my palms slick with sweat. The presentation deck Mike had optimized looked like hieroglyphics to me. Mike sat beside me, wearing an expression that said, "Relax, I got you," which only increased my stress. The chairman, a middle-aged man with a receding hairline, Mr. Sterling, sat smiling amiably at the head of the table, flanked by several other executives I didn't know. "Ryan, ready to go?" Mr. Sterling asked warmly. I managed a strained smile worse than a grimace. "Ready, Chairman." I walked to the front, took a deep breath, and opened the PowerPoint. The first slide, project title, the Ether AI Strategic Initiative. Good, I recognize that. "Good morning, leaders and colleagues. Today, I'm here to report on our Ether initiative." I started, then immediately stalled. I had to muscle through, pointing at the charts and fabricating information. "Look at this graph, everyone. It's very high, indicating our high technical standard. And look at this curve. It's very steep, indicating our rapid development speed." The conference room fell silent. I could feel everyone's gazes trained on me like spotlights. Mike's expression shifted from reverence to confusion, then to outright horror. Mr. Sterling's smile slowly vanished. "Ryan," he finally spoke, unable to hold back. "Can you be a little more specific? For example, what is the core advantage of our algorithm compared to market-leading products?" My mind went blank. Advantage? The advantage is that the name sounds cooler. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I was done. I was about to suffer a public professional execution in front of the entire company. Just as I prepared to bow and apologize, admitting I wasn't thinking straight today, the conference room door was tapped twice, then pushed open. A figure walked in. It was Ellie Vance. She wore a more formal black suit today, carrying a file folder. Her face was neutral, but her eyes were intensely sharp. All eyes turned to her. An executive asked, "Counsel Vance, what brings you here?" "Counsel? She's a lawyer?" Ellie nodded to Chairman Sterling at the main seat. Chairman, my apologies for the interruption. Our legal department just finalized some details with the Ether Initiative partners. I felt it was necessary to supplement the discussion now to prevent future legal risks. She walked to the front, standing naturally beside me, and took the clicker from my hand. Mr. Harris just gave us the macro-strategic overview and the grand vision for Ether. I will now supplement his remarks with details on technical implementation and commercial cooperation. Her voice was quiet, but her articulation was precise, her logic airtight. Regarding the core algorithm advantage the chairman just raised, there are 3 primary points. First, our semantic ambiguity recognition precision is 3% higher than the current industry benchmark, the Starline system. This means our misinterpretation rate when processing complex natural language will be significantly lower. The supporting data is here. Please look at the large screen. As she spoke, she expertly manipulated the slides. The charts and data I couldn't understand transformed in her mouth into clear, powerful arguments. Not only did she perfectly answer the chairman's question, but she subtly packaged my earlier rambling about very high and very steep into high-level strategic foresight. A presentation that was moments from disaster was wrenched back by her, morphing into a perfect display of a well-coordinated husband and wife team. One leading the vision, one executing the details. I stood beside her, looking like an idiot, capable only of nodding mechanically. Watching her calm, composed profile and listening to her systematic articulation, my emotions churned. She clearly despised me, so why was she helping me? When the presentation concluded, the conference room erupted in warm applause. Chairman Sterling was beaming, walking over to clap me on the shoulder. Ryan, you really married a great wife. A couple united in purpose is unstoppable. I feel completely secure putting the Ether Initiative in your hands. I could only smile awkwardly. Once the crowd dispersed, only Ellie and I remained in the room. She tossed the clicker onto the table, leaned against the conference table, and folded her arms, looking at me. Mr. Harris, quite the presence you had. Her tone held a hint of sarcasm. I was mortified, hanging my head. Thank you. Thank me? She raised an eyebrow. I wasn't helping you. I was helping my client. Our firm has been tracking the Ether Initiative for 6 months. If it collapsed because of you, my bonus was toast. She spoke harshly, but I suspected it was just a defense mechanism. I gathered my courage, looked up at her. Ellie, can we talk? About what? About us. About these 8 years, I said. Before I could finish, my phone rang. I pulled it out. 2 words flashed across the screen. Chloe Davis. My heart hammered. I involuntarily glanced at Ellie. Her eyes also fell on my screen, and the mockery on her lips deepened. Answer it, she said. Your white moonlight is calling. It would be rude not to. Ultimately, I didn't dare answer the call in front of Ellie. I hit silent, stuffed the phone back into my pocket, and pretended nothing happened. Listen, there's a celebratory dinner tonight for the successful presentation. You should come too. I tried stiffly changing the subject. I won't. Ellie's reply was curt. I need to pick up Coco. Have fun on your own. With that, she turned and walked away on her heels without looking back. I watched her leave, feeling a sharp pang of loss. The dinner was scheduled at an upscale restaurant, a private room reserved by Mike. My colleagues were excited, showering me with praise, saying my presentation was brilliant, a seamless blend of strategy and detail, truly textbook level. I could only hold my wine glass, smiling awkwardly, pushing all the credit to the team. 3 rounds of drinks in, the private room door opened. A woman in a white dress with long, flowing hair walked in. Sorry, am I late? Her voice was soft and lovely. I looked up and froze. It was Chloe Davis. 8 years later, she was even more beautiful than in college, possessing the sophisticated grace of a mature woman. Chloe, what are you doing here? Mike stood up, surprised. Chloe smiled, but her eyes swept past everyone, landing directly on me. As the client representative for the Ether Initiative, is it strange for me to congratulate my partners? She said, walking straight to me and sitting down naturally. Ryan, long time no see. Long time no see. My voice felt dry. This was the goddess I had yearned for, but seeing her again, I didn't feel the expected thrill. Instead, there was a strange, subtle discomfort. Especially when she sat down, I caught the heavy scent of her perfume, and for some reason, the faint scent of jasmine, Ellie's scent, drifted into my mind. I heard you got married, and your daughter is 7. Time flies. Chloe raised her glass, gesturing toward me. So many people chased you in college, but I never expected Eleanor Vance to snag you in the end. She's certainly tenacious. Her words sounded like congratulations, but the sour undertone was palpable from a mile away. The atmosphere at the table instantly became delicate. I didn't know how to respond. Chloe pressed on, leaning closer, lowering her voice so only we could hear. Ryan, do you remember? 8 years ago, when you confessed to me. Actually, I didn't mean to reject you back then. It's just... She trailed off, her eyes filled with regret and vulnerability. My heart, undeniably, fluttered. Just then, my phone vibrated again. I pulled it out. It was a text message from Ellie. A photo. In the picture, Coco wore a beautiful princess dress, holding a card covered in little drawn hearts. Scribbled on it in clumsy handwriting were the words, "Daddy, come home soon." Below the photo was a text. "She waited an hour for you. She made you a gift." I looked at the photo, and the ripple of emotion Chloe had stirred instantly subsided. I put away my phone, smiled at Chloe, a distant yet firm smile. Let's not talk about the past. I have a wife and kid now, and I'm doing great. Then, I stood up and addressed the others at the table. Excuse me, everyone. I have a family emergency, so I need to head home. Dinner's on me. Please take your time. I didn't look at Chloe's stunned face, turning and walking out of the private room. Stepping out of the restaurant, the evening breeze cleared my head significantly. I didn't know what happened 8 years ago, but I knew where my home was now. When I got home, a warm yellow floor lamp illuminated the living room. Coco had fallen asleep draped over the sofa, clutching that card tightly in her little hand. Ellie was sitting on the rug nearby, working on her laptop. She looked up when she heard the door, but didn't speak. I changed my shoes and crept over, intending to carry Coco back to her room. Don't move her, Ellie said. She just fell asleep. She'll wake up if you move her. I stopped, sitting down on the sofa across from her. You haven't gone to bed. I made small talk. Waiting for you. She closed her laptop. Afraid you drank too much and wouldn't make it back. Her words still lacked warmth, but hearing them, a quiet comfort settled over me. I didn't drink too much. I carefully placed Coco's card on the coffee table, then couldn't help but speak. Today, Chloe showed up. Ellie's hands paused on the keyboard for a fraction of a second, then resumed normal typing. Oh, she said she was the client representative. She also said, back then. Ryan, Ellie cut me off, finally looking up and meeting my eyes. What are you trying to say? Are you telling me you still harbor feelings for her? That you want a divorce so you can rekindle things with your white moonlight? No, I panicked, my voice unconsciously rising slightly. Coco, half asleep on the sofa, stirred and mumbled. I quickly lowered my voice. That's not what I meant. I just wanted to explain things clearly to you. Explain what? Ellie folded her arms, leaning back on the sofa, adopting a posture that dared me to make up a story. I was speechless. What could I explain? That I had amnesia? That I had zero feelings for Chloe now. Would she believe me? In her eyes, I was a scumbag using his ex-girlfriend's birthday as a password. Just as we reached a stalemate, the half-conscious Coco suddenly spoke, her voice muffled. Daddy, bad. Both our gazes instantly snapped to our daughter. That pretty lady held Daddy's hand. Coco mumbled, eyes still closed. Mommy got angry. Me? Why was my little helper leaking classified information? I quickly looked at Ellie. Her face visibly darkened. Held your hand? She asked. No, absolutely not. My survival instinct went critical, and I shook my head wildly. She clinked glasses with me when she toasted. Seriously, is that right? Ellie's eyes were full of suspicion. Just then, my divine assist, Coco, spoke again. Ms. Chloe, not pretty. She rolled over, burying her face in the cushion. Mommy is the prettiest. Mommy is a fairy. She smacked her lips and sank back in a deep sleep. Silence filled the living room. I cautiously observed Ellie. Although she maintained a stern expression, that barely perceptible upward curve at the corner of her mouth betrayed her mood. I seized the moment, scooting closer, sitting on the rug next to her. She's telling the truth, I said, looking into her eyes with absolute sincerity. In my heart, you're the most beautiful. Ellie's face instantly flushed. She awkwardly turned her head away and picked up her computer. Smooth talker, have you finished your work? When the queen speaks, how dare I disobey? I cheekily leaned closer. Honey, don't be angry anymore, okay? I promise I'll stay miles away from Chloe from now on. Who are you calling, honey? Don't be ridiculous. Though she said that, she didn't push me away. I knew the family crisis had, for the moment, been defused by our unexpected little helper. The next day, I decided to take proactive measures. I couldn't remain passive. I had to figure out what happened during those 8 years. Ellie went to work, and Coco went to school. I stayed home alone. I told them I wasn't feeling well and took a day off. This was the first time since my amnesia that I had time to properly examine this home. I started rummaging through drawers. The study was the main target. That's where Ellie had cornered me yesterday with the password. I booted up the unfamiliar laptop. I already knew the startup password. It was Ellie's birthday. I felt complicated about that. If I was truly pining for Chloe, why would I use Ellie's birthday as my computer login? The desktop was clean, with only a few work folders. I clicked through them one by one, filled with technical proposals and data I couldn't decipher. I gave up, beginning to search the computer for keywords like diary, memory, Chloe, Ellie. Nothing. Just as I was about to shut down, I noticed an isolated folder on the D drive named Backup. I clicked it. Inside was a single, encrypted compressed file. My spirits lifted instantly. My intuition told me the secret was hidden here. I right-clicked, chose Extract, and the password prompt popped up. I took a deep breath and started testing. My birthday. Wrong. Coco's birthday. Wrong. Our wedding anniversary. I had no idea when that was. I tried countless possible combinations. All failed. Frustrated, I ran a hand through my hair. Was it truly Chloe's birthday? I found Chloe's contact. She'd sent a friend request yesterday, which I hadn't accepted, and clicked on her status feed, hoping to find a clue about her birthday. The result, she'd set her profile to visible only for the last 3 days. Nothing useful. I leaned back in the chair, feeling like a headless chicken. What date was so important to me that I needed to use it to encrypt a folder? 8 years ago, the confession, the day I confessed to Chloe. A thought flashed into my mind. I typed a sequence of numbers onto the keyboard with trembling hands. 202-40607. Enter. Decompressing. The progress bar slowly began to move. I froze. It actually was that date. Why would I use the date I confessed to Chloe to encrypt a folder? And why was this folder on a computer secured with Ellie's birthday? What was going on? Once decompressed, the folder contained a single video file. I clicked play. The video footage was shaky, seemingly filmed on a phone. The background noise was loud. Horrible singing from a karaoke bar. In the frame, my college self, wearing a white t-shirt, looked flushed, clearly drunk. I was clinging to someone, refusing to let go, mumbling something incoherent. Why? Why don't you like me? What's wrong with me? I focused. The person I was clinging to, who was trying in vain to push me away with a look of pure exasperation, was none other than college-age Ellie Vance. She wore a simple white shirt and jeans, her face bare, her brows tightly furrowed. The video version of me was wrapped around her like an octopus, burying my head in her shoulder, crying and accusing. Chloe, why don't you like me? I distinctly heard the name I was shouting. It was Chloe. I was hugging Ellie, but shouting Chloe's name. The expression on Ellie's face in the video shifted from exasperation to resignation, and finally to a complicated emotion I couldn't place. She stopped struggling, allowing me to hold her, simply patting my back gently. The video ended there. I sat in front of the computer, chilled to the bone. Shame, humiliation, regret, all surged through me. I finally knew the truth. I was rejected, drowned my sorrows in booze, and then, in a drunken stupor, I mistook Ellie for Chloe and committed an unforgivable mistake. That's why we got married. That's why she hated me so much she shredded the wedding photos. It turned out I wasn't just a scumbag who pined for his white moonlight. I was an opportunistic animal who took advantage of her. I buried my head in my arms, wishing I could disappear into a crack in the floor. I owed her an apology. An apology 8 years late. I don't know how I made it to the evening. When Ellie and Coco returned, I was sitting in the dark living room, like a soulless statue. Daddy, why didn't you turn on the lights? Coco ran over, expertly flipping the wall switch. The lights came on, stinging my eyes. Ellie saw my distressed appearance and frowned. What's wrong? You said you weren't feeling well. Did you see a doctor? Her tone held a flicker of concern she didn't realize was there. It only intensified my guilt. I'm fine. I stood up, my voice hoarse. Ellie, come to the study for a minute. I need to talk to you. Ellie looked at me, then at Coco. Coco, play by yourself for a bit. Mommy and Daddy need to talk. Okay. I closed the door behind us in the study. I dare not look her in the eye. I took a long moment to collect my thoughts before speaking, struggling. I'm sorry. Ellie paused, apparently surprised by the apology. Sorry for what? 8 years ago, that night at the karaoke bar, my voice was shaking. I shouldn't have gotten drunk and mistaken you for... I couldn't finish the sentence. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I know I was a bastard. I took a deep breath, looked up, my eyes red. If you want a divorce, I agree. The house, the car, the savings, they all go to you and Coco. I'll walk away with nothing. I finished, awaiting her judgment. However, Ellie's reaction was completely unexpected. There was no rage, no outburst, not even mockery. She just stared at me, her expression complex, as if looking at an idiot. After a long time, she spoke slowly. You thought it was an accident? I was stunned. What did she mean? You thought you forced me, taking advantage of me while you were drunk? A self-deprecating curve appeared on her lips. I didn't speak. Wasn't that what happened? The video clearly showed it. Ellie said nothing more. She turned, walked to the bookshelf, and took a locked diary from a locked drawer. She unlocked it with a tiny key and tossed the notebook into my lap. Read it yourself. I opened the pink, slightly worn diary with trembling hands. The handwriting was elegant. It was Ellie's. September 1st, 2020. First day of school. Met a loud idiot. His name is Ryan Harris. May 4th, 2021. Debate team. I verbally destroyed him. His face went bright red with anger, kinda cute. December 24th, 2022. He sprained his ankle playing basketball and was sitting alone on the bench. Looked miserable. I wanted to go over, but Chloe went first. Right? They looked good together. October 18th, 2023. He pulled several all-nighters for the Innovation Challenge. His eyes were black, like a panda. His data model was a complete mess. I couldn't stand it. I had to fix it. Page after page, every entry was about me. Moments I never noticed, actions I thought were her provocations and rivalry. All looked different in her diary. The woman I thought was my arch-nemesis had actually been. I didn't dare to finish the thought. I flipped to the final entry. The date was June 7th, 2024. The day I confessed to Chloe. He confessed to Chloe today. I saw it. It looked so bright, so brave. I hid behind the trees. I felt like the sky was falling. Tonight he got wasted. He held me, but shouted her name. My heart aches, worse than being cut with a knife. Mike and the others were going to take him back to the dorm, but I stopped them. I said I would take him. I brought him back to my rented apartment. He passed out on my bed, sleeping like a child. I looked at him and made the boldest decision of my life. Ryan Harris, you idiot. If you can't see me, I will make sure you have to look at me for the rest of your life. This was not an accident. This was my premeditation. The diary ended there. I held the notebook, shaking violently. I looked up at Ellie, disbelief etched on my face. She stood there expressionless, but her slightly reddened eyes and tightly clenched hands betrayed her tension. So, it wasn't my fault. It was her premeditation. This woman, whom I believed hated me for 8 years, had actually loved me for so long. I felt my heart being squeezed by a large hand, aching and swelling, painful enough to gasp for breath. I was an idiot, the #1 idiot in the world. I don't know how I managed to leave the study. My mind was full of Ellie's diary entries and her final line. This was my premeditation. I sat on the living room sofa, staring at the card Coco had drawn on the coffee table, my heart churning. A woman who had loved me for so long, and I had treated her like my nemesis for 8 years. Even after losing my memory, I suspected her, guarded against her, believing I had assaulted her. And she said nothing. She just maintained that cold facade, watching me jump around like a fool, watching me waver because of the appearance of my white moonlight, watching me feel guilty about an encrypted folder. Was she terribly disappointed? Ellie emerged from the study, dressed in casual clothes, her face still difficult to read. Dinner's in the kitchen. Heat it up yourself. She was about to head to the bedroom. Ellie. I called her name. She stopped, but didn't turn around. I stood up, walked behind her, and gently embraced her from behind. Her body stiffened. I'm sorry, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I'm sorry, I only just realized. Realized what? Her voice sounded calm, but I could feel the tension in her body. Realized everything you've done for me. I buried my face in her neck. The familiar jasmine scent was there. Ellie, I'm an idiot. I was blind. She didn't push me away. After a long silence, I heard her voice, thick with tears she was holding back. A little late to realize, isn't it? It's not late. I held her tighter. Not late at all. We didn't talk much more that night, but the ice between us seemed to have quietly thawed. The next day, Chloe called me again, asking me out to dinner, claiming she had important project matters to discuss face-to-face. I knew it was a setup. I hung up the phone and walked straight into Ellie's law office. She was reviewing files and looked surprised to see me. What are you doing here? Chloe asked me to dinner, I said, getting straight to the point. Ellie's gaze darkened slightly. I pulled up a chair, sat across from her, and laid all my cards on the table. Ellie, I need your help. I looked into her eyes. I think I have amnesia. I don't remember anything about these 8 years. I only remember the day I confessed to Chloe 8 years ago. The color drained from Ellie's face. The knuckles holding her pen turned white from the strain. She just looked at me for a long, long time. I expected her to be angry, to think I was crazy, but she just took a deep breath and picked up her pen again. I understand, her voice was steady. What do you want to do? I was surprised by how quickly she accepted the reality. Chloe is trying to make things difficult for us on the project, to force my hand. I explained my plan. I want to play along with her. Ellie listened to my plan, then paused. Your idea is reckless, and the risk is high. But it's feasible. She looked up, her eyes blazing. I'll help you. In that moment, I saw the Ellie Vance of 8 years ago, the clear-headed, sharp-tongued debater who was invincible on stage. Only this time, we weren't opponents. We were partners. The showdown with Chloe was set for the project steering committee meeting a week later. During that week, Ellie and I were practically inseparable. We worked late at the company. She helped me organize all the technical details and commercial logic of the Ether initiative. I discovered that even though I'd forgotten the past, much of my professional knowledge and intuition seemed carved into my mind. When I proposed some ambitious ideas that even Mike thought were far-fetched, Ellie always zeroed in on the value and used her legal and business expertise to refine them into actionable plans. Our collaboration was seamless, too harmonious for people who had just reconciled. Mike watched us, his expression a mix of awe and approval. Us, Ellie, you two as a power couple are unbeatable. I looked at Ellie, who was focused on scribbling notes on the whiteboard beside me. A warmth spread through my chest. This was probably what our routine had been like for the past 8 years. At the decision meeting, Chloe, as the client representative, predictably raised sharp objections to our proposal. She focused on one particularly aggressive data model in our plan, demanding we provide a more conservative alternative, or else she would recommend reassessing the partnership. This was exactly what we expected. I stood up. Instead of immediately refuting her, I agreed with her point. Ms. Davis's concerns are valid. In fact, we internally discussed a safer approach. However, I changed tack, looking toward the chairman. I believe that in technology, especially AI, if we only chase security, we will always trail behind others. The ambition of the Ether initiative is not to create a competent product, but a revolutionary, industry-disrupting monster. My words caused a stir. Chloe sneered. Mr. Harris, slogans are useless. You can talk big, but who will bear the risk? I will bear the risk. The voice belonged to Ellie. She stood up, walked to my side, and distributed a document to everyone present. This is the risk assessment and incentive-based agreement prepared by our legal department, she announced. If the Ether initiative fails due to the core model we are insisting on, our side is willing to waive R&D investment. The room gasped. Chloe's face went white. She had not expected Ellie to raise the stakes so dramatically. However, Ellie's voice was firm and powerful. If we succeed, we require the profit sharing outlined in the original contract to be adjusted from 70/30ths in your favor to a 50-50 split. Chairman Sterling looked at the agreement, then at Ellie and me, his eyes filled with admiration and excitement. This was a huge gamble, but the reward was equally massive. Ultimately, thanks to Ellie's and my joint persuasion, the board approved our proposal. Chloe's maneuver had failed completely. After the meeting, she sought me out, her face thunderous. Ryan, you did all this for her? I looked at her, my mind perfectly calm. Chloe, you misunderstand. I didn't do this for her. We are a unit. I did this for our shared business and for our home. I took Ellie's hand, who was standing beside me. Her palm was cool but firm. In going forward, please address her as Mrs. Harris. Then, I led Ellie away, leaving Chloe staring after us in disbelief. With the crisis averted, life returned to normal. Or rather, it entered a completely new track. The atmosphere between Ellie and me was more harmonious than ever before. Although she still occasionally threw subtle jabs at me, the tenderness in her eyes couldn't be hidden. I began clumsily learning how to be a good husband and father. I looked up recipes online, preparing varied meals for them. Though I nearly set the kitchen on fire the first time and used sugar instead of salt the second, watching Ellie and Coco finish the food, one grimacing and the other stifling giggles, I felt immensely satisfied. I started taking and picking up Coco from school, listening to her chatter about her preschool adventures. On weekends, the three of us went to the park and the playground. I would hoist Coco onto my shoulders, and Ellie would laugh, taking pictures. In the sunlight, her smile was more dazzling than any moment I remembered with Chloe. I felt like I was falling back in love with my wife. No, maybe not falling back in love. I was finally discovering who I had truly loved all along. One weekend evening, after Coco was asleep, I led Ellie onto the balcony. I pulled a velvet box from my pocket. I opened it. Inside was a simple, elegant diamond ring. In the pale moonlight, I looked in her eyes, knelt down solemnly on one knee. Ellie froze, her eyes immediately welling up. Ellie, my voice was tight and trembling. 8 years ago, I was blind and proposed to the wrong person. I don't know how to make up for those years of neglecting you. But starting now, I want to spend the rest of my life loving you properly. 8 years later, I want to ask you again, I love you. Will you marry me again? Her eyes were red, tears streaming down her cheeks. She didn't answer right away, just sniffled, and spoke with that familiar, tough yet tender tone. You're crazy. We have a 7-year-old kid, and you're pulling this stunt. But she still reached out her hand to me. I slipped the ring onto her slender finger. It fit perfectly. I stood up and pulled her into a tight embrace. Wife, I love you. I know, you idiot. From then on, our life was like being immersed in a honey jar. I stopped agonizing over the 8 years of lost memory, knowing that compared to the future, the past didn't matter. We had each other, we had Coco, and we had a warm home. That was enough. Until that morning, I woke up from sleep, feeling like my head was stuffed with tangled wires, swollen and throbbing. Countless fragmented images flooded my mind like a tidal wave. Ellie, look, 2 lines on the pregnancy test. I'm going to be a dad. Me spinning Ellie around in the living room. She laughed, calling me childish. Wah, outside the delivery room, I heard my daughter's first cry. So overwhelmed, I nearly walked backward. Ryan, it's okay. If you failed, we'll start over. I'll support you. The first time my startup failed, I hid at home, afraid to go out. Ellie held me and said this. Honey, look, keys to our own place. The day we got the keys to our first house. Ellie kissed me excitedly on the cheek. Arguments, support, laughter, tears. Moment by moment, every detail. The blank 8 years were filled completely in an instant. I hadn't jumped 8 years into the future with nothing. I had just temporarily forgotten everything I possessed. I turned my head, looking at Ellie sleeping beside me, and Coco curled up like a small cat on her other side. My eyes instantly moistened. We had shared so many stories. I had, without realizing it, loved her to the bone long ago. I leaned in gently and pressed a kiss on Ellie's forehead. Wife, I whispered close to her ear in a voice only we could hear. I remember everything. Her long eyelashes fluttered, and she slowly opened her eyes. Her gaze was clear, without any of the fuzziness of just waking up. A hint of a mischievous smile played on her lips. You remembered? I paused. She reached out and pinched my cheek. Perfect. I haven't settled accounts with you yet for the stash you hid in that copy of Code Complete on the 3rd shelf last month. Tell me, how much did you hide? What were you planning to do with it, Mr. Harris? My smile froze on my face. The end.